1970 to 1987, 17 years, the Metis and the Non-Status Indians formed an alliance and established the Association of Metis and Non Status Indians of Saskatchewan, known as AMNSIS. AMNSIS was established because of the underdevelopment of both of the Indigenous peoples in Saskatchewan. AMNSIS' objective in the 70s was to have a sound political organization collectively with a strong leadership at the local, provincial, and community level. We needed the strength of our people collectively at the national, provincial, and local level with support and direction of the collective communities. AMNSIS set up a process to meet as equals and to face our issues before us together as Metis and Non-Status Indians. AMNSIS had a collective vision. You told us AMNSIS must have a land-based and self-government, that we must establish a constitution that determines that we are a nation which is based on our kingship, keeping the families together, and based on our communities, urban, rural, and remote. You told us that AMNSIS must have access to the opportunities available to all Canadians while keeping our collective rights, our cultures, our languages, our heritage, and our dignity. You, the people, said that AMNSIS must stand for the principles you gave us. As a result, AMNSIS established the following affiliates between 1970 to 1987. In the early 1970s, under the guidance of Clarence Trottier, AMNSIS established the Native Alcohol Council, NAC, now called MACSI, Métis Addiction Council, to help our people and our communities to overcome our alcoholic addiction problems through the NAC programs. In the 1970s and 80s, AMNSIS developed the Provincial Métis Housing Corporation to deal with our housing shortages and services throughout the province of Saskatchewan. AMNSIS developed housing programs at the local and urban levels. Later, under the guidance of Ray Hamilton, AMNSIS established Métis Urban Housing Authorities, known as MUHOS. As a visionary and a dreamer, Jonas Favel, AMNSIS Area Director, and the community of Isle La Crosse established a local education autonomy at the Rossignol School in the 1970s by forming a local autonomous school board. AMNSIS seen a need to train our members to become teachers and other professionals and tradespeople. As a result, AMNSIS established the Gabriel Dumont Institute in 1980 to meet the educational needs and training of our AMNSIS members. Furthermore, AMNSIS established a SUNTEP program to train our teachers. The Dumont Technical Institute was established to train our members in trades and post-secondary education, all under the auspices of the Gabriel Dumont Institute. Gabriel Dumont Institute was set up to preserve our culture, our tradition, and our languages, and to promote our history. Under the leadership of Wayne MacKenzie AMNSIS vice president, AMNSIS began to develop an economic development strategy between 1985 and 1987. In 1986-87, AMNSIS established Saskatchewan Native Economic Development Corporation, SNETCO. AMNSIS received a startup grant to set up our Economic Development Corporation. Since then, AMNSIS and the Métis Nation Saskatchewan have assisted our locals, our communities, and our people to develop small businesses and to create some wealth, jobs, and to gain self-sufficiency. As an executive member of AMNSIS, as the provincial secretary between 1985 to 1988, I attended the last First Ministers' Conference held at Ottawa on March the 26th, 27, 1987, along with Mr. Jim Sinclair, Wayne MacKenzie, and Jim DeRocher. After the conclusion of the First Ministers' Conference, AMNSIS was disbanded and dissolved by a resolution passed at an AMNSIS Annual General Assembly held in July 1987. The resolution vote was very close, 52% for and 48% against, to replace AMNSIS with a Métis-only organization, Métis Nation Saskatchewan. Our great leader, Mr. Jim Sinclair, accepted the Annual General Assembly resolution and stated that democracy rules and must be respected. Such a great leader and an honorable man. As a result of the AMNSIS AGM resolution, the Métis Nation Saskatchewan inherited all the affiliates that were established by AMNSIS between 1970 and 87. To this date, AMNSIS is still bearing the fruit of the hard work of AMNSIS and was given the olive branch. When Harry Daniels was president of the Congress of Aboriginal People in 1999, he launched the Daniels case versus the Crown. Shortly after the launch of the Daniels case, I asked the Métis National Council to include the Daniels case on our Métis rights agenda. The leadership of the Métis National Council refused to include the Daniel case on our Métis rights panel agenda as a discussion item. The Métis leadership at that time felt that the Daniel case wasn't strong enough to deal with the jurisdictional question, whether the Métis was a federal responsibility or a provincial responsibility. At that time, the Métis organizations in Canada were kicked around like a political football. However, later, around 2013, the MNC gained intervenor status on the Daniels case after it was appealed by the Crown. Then on April 14, 2016, the Supreme Court ruled on the Daniels case that the federal government, rather than the provincial government, held a legal responsibility to legislate on issues related to the Métis and non-status Indians. After the Supreme Court ruling, the same Métis National Council leadership who had denied my request to include the Daniels case on the Métis rights panel agenda came down the stairs yelling, "We won! We won!" How ironic is that? And in my